Welcome back. We'll be heading straight into the discussion of the supplementary elections and the performance and developments we are seeing so far and what it means for the future of the country and possibly other elections to come with the off-season or the off-cycle elections, including Bayelsa, Kogi State and Imo State. Now I'm joined in the studios by two gentlemen to do some justice to this. To my left I have Barrister Kelechi, who is a legal practitioner, and to my right I have Mr. Daniel Obaje, who is a policy analyst. He joins us now to break down the matter. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just start with basic assessment of what we've seen so far. The elections held over the weekend, and we saw some things happening. The difference this time around is that INEC now had very few places to focus on, as in contrast to the general elections on February 25th and March 18, where we saw so many places for INEC to cover. What's your assessment? Let's start with you, Mr. Daniel Obaje. What's your assessment of INEC's performance this time around?
Well, to some of us, we don't expect any magic to be done, and we also not pay too much attention to these last elections because of what happened on 25th of February and 18th of March. And again, if you look at what happened in Adamawa on Saturday, for me, it's a show of shame. For me, it calls for total overhauling of our electoral system. And I said to myself, what is the problem with us in Nigeria? There are four segments of the society that are involved in electioneering. In every election season, you talk about the empire, which is INEC. You talk about the political parties. Then you talk about the security apparatus. Of course, you also have to talk about the electorate themselves. In the context of these other elections that just held on Saturday, Adamawa, for me, that is where the concern is, and that is whatever happened in any other state, Adamawa was key. In a situation where election is held, you're talking about 21 local government councils, and 10 local government council was announced. And then they sent the rec, said they are going on a break. And in the course of that break, he showed up again and said, the election is already won. And the political party, particular political party, which are in the party that is APC now, was announced by the rec. And you can see the altercations. I watched it and I said, this is a show of shame. An election, before we went into these elections, we were told by INEC that every requirement to make this election a success has been provided for. And some of us, we are clapping our hands and giving kudos to Mr. President, because when you talk about budgetary allocations to INEC, they were released. There was no complaint of finance. Yakubu also promised us that logistics has been taken care of. And then in meeting interactions with paramilitary agencies and the leading agency, which is police, they all assured us that everything will go well. So for me, Adamawa election of Saturday was the climax of the whole sham of election that is being conducted by Yakubu. But again, I thank God for this resilient spirit of the Nigerian people. No matter what happened, we always have this communal spirit that brings us together. We have this common denominator that binds us as citizens of Nigeria. And we have that overcoming spirit that whatever is thrown at us as society, we are able to manage it, absorb it, and move on with our lives. Of course, some of us will preach against violence. Because what happened in Rwanda, nobody will wish it to happen to anywhere, any society in the world. You can see what is going on in Ukraine. We pray it will never get to us. And for some of us, whom our father happens to be in the military, and when they went through this war and civil wars and what have you, the story we heard from them is not a palatable story. So we will only call for calm, and there can always be room for improvement. But for us, for me as a person, I wish that after this election cycle, there needs to be total overhauling of the INEC system and their modus operandi, and of course, issues that borders on security, that borders on logistics. Then you talk about also the technology that has been deployed by INEC. If INEC assured us and they told us before going into this election that, look, the election will be credible, it will be fair, it will, adjust to be the best election so far, and we are having what we are having. People are still going about hiring political talks to snatch polling books. It calls for re-examining and re-x-raying we need to x-ray the whole system, the whole INEC system. And some persons have also questioned the appointments of the person of the chairman of INEC. Because if you have a government in place, and the government in place is the one that is appointing you before the clearance of National Assembly to become the chairman of INEC, there is a problem. There is a saying in America, they said, he who paid the piper, they take the tunes. Somebody cannot elect you into a position or appoint you into a position and then you begin to work against the person. So there must be a procedural change in how we begin to, appoint a person of chairman of INEC and of course the national commissioners.
All right, I'm so sorry to cut in there. We have to go on a quick break. When we return, please, we'll get more assessments on the matter. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still talking on the issues of supplementary elections. Mr. Daniel Baja has given us his general overview. So let's quickly bring in Barrister Kelechi here, just to get your own thoughts too. What are your general perception of the supplementary elections? Any improvement or lack of from the general elections?
I agree with what my friend have said. In total, if you look at the kind of promises we had and the kind of expectations Nigerians had before now, you will agree with me that there was, everybody expected maybe not a perfect system, but at least a working system. Now, from what we saw 25th of February down to the last Saturday, it has not encouraged. And in all observation, we expected maybe there would be an improvement going from the 25th election to the 18th of March election, and we could have had an improved election, supplementary election. But it seems it's getting worse and worse by each moving moment, by each moment given to INEC. I think INEC on the last supplementary election went the lowest low in terms of arrangement, in terms of management, in terms of whatever it is that INEC is saddled with. They went below what every Nigerian expects of them. Now, I feel this only happened because Nigeria is a country where there are no consequences for action. I believe if we had if actions follow each consequence, if consequence follow each action, whatever action you have brought to the table, whatever action you've brought to any administration, there should be consequences for it. If there were consequences for actions, people will not act with so much impunity. If you look at what happened in Adamawa State, take for instance, there were other states that had supplementary elections, just like my friend said, but Adamawa was on the focal point because he had a major election, he had their governorship election in almost all the local government. Now, we expected that we would have a more organized logistics, more organized administration, more organized staff participation and electorates. Now, but unfortunately, the electorates in the entire elections that have happened this year were very ready. They were set. They were all prepared for whatever that was promised. They were all geared up to a very perfect outing. But on the other side, the administrators of these elections, the INEC, which is the institution, failed woefully in its mandate in organizing a simple an exercise that is as simple as an election. It comes just in a few moments. They had an average of 4 years to prepare for this election. 4 whole years. And if you look at by numbers, the amount that has been budgeted for INEC this year has never in the entire history of Nigeria been budgeted to INEC. They misused that resources. They misused every avenue to cleanse their name in the annals of history. That should not have been. I believe from now onwards, people should pay for the consequences of their actions. If you have done good, you should be able to reap good. But if you have been able to derail, if you have if you've compromised in any circumstances, there should be consequences for such events. I believe our prison system should be thrown open to such persons.
All right, let's talk now about some specifics of that. We'll get later into what INEC promised and did not promise in the course of the conversation. But for now, let's talk about Adamawa. A resident electoral commissioner came out and declared that the winner of the election was the APC presidential candidate. He said so without any figures. He didn't present any scores. He just said it. On the question of consequences for actions, such an action, what can it be deemed to be when a person who is not meant to declare results declares the results in full view of a commissioner of police?
Now, in such circumstances, that person has committed an offense that is punishable in law. Now, the Electoral Act and the INEC guideline has set out from the polling booth whose mandate it is. Like you see in the polling booth, that duty is given to the presiding officer. Not even the INEC chairman himself has that duty at the polling booth. The INEC chairman has no duty. Even as a chairman, he cannot go to the polling booth to announce a result. The same thing goes to state and to whatever the last point is. Now, we have collection officers, and it is the mandate of those collection officers to collect the result, announce the result. The INEC officials that are in that room are there on supervisory capacity. It is not their mandate. They are to be seen and not to be heard. It is not within the ambit of their duty, their obligation, to interfere in the processes to that election. They have already done their administrative work, gave us a timetable and a guide. Now it is left for each person that have been appointed as a collection officer and the returning officer to return whoever that has been elected by reasons of law, not by reasons of what he feels. You must return, the returning officer must return the person by what the law has provided for. If the law provides these certain responsibilities must be met before you are declared elected, you must satisfy those basics. You must satisfy those things. Now the law has provided that you must have seen all the results. You must have compiled all the results. You must have accurate figures of the result for each polling booth, down to the ward level, down to the local government by local government level. Now we have returning officers for each local government, and then we have the collation and returning officer for the state. Now each local government returning officer will produce his results to the state collation center, and whoever that is in charge of that state collation center will collect the results and calculate the entire figures that has been submitted to him. He cannot add and he cannot remove. Now, it is upon the basis of such figures being calculated that he makes pronouncements according to the figures that have been given to him. Don't forget, the Electoral Act provides that wherein any person has erred, any person goes contrary to the provisions, he shall be liable to terms of years of imprisonment or fine or both. So in every which way, this is the point where Nigerians need to ask the system to step up its implementation of prosecuting whoever that have fallen short of the mandate given to him by the law.
All right, let's hear from you, Mr. Obaje. That scene, I don't know if you've seen the video where he made an announcement. What's your take on it? Especially because he did that in full view of policemen. Do you think it would have been expected for them to take action then and there, seeing as he seems to have broken the law right in their presence?
We continue to talk, and we continue to lay bare our minds. But the most unfortunate thing in Nigeria is that the more you talk, the more you put out these informations there, the more you see the authorities not acting. In fact, let us even start from the person of the wreck who had made that announcement. I learned he's a professor, right?
Well, the
one, yeah.
No, he's a lawyer.
He is a lawyer.
Yes. The other person who was accosted or assaulted while trying to find him, that was the national
returning.
Yes, and that was the one.
All right, from the national headquarters. Yes. God bless you. These are men that are supposed to be held on high esteem. You talk about the police commissioner? No, it's not only the police commissioner that is there. All the state security apparatus are there. The head of immigration, the head of civil service, civil defense, the head of correctional center, Nigerian Correctional Center, the head of DSS is there. Of course, the police commissioner is the leading agency as regards that election. And in the full glare of the commissioner of police, in fact, there were 3 commissioners that are supposed to sit before the announcement is made. That is what I understand. When it was Channel Television. I was watching and I saw the commissioner, the resident commissioner, walked in and then, after the break and, in fact, before the break, and he said that the election has been collated and the result is in, and that the way he was announcing it, the way he was saying it, what I expected the commissioner of police should do immediately is to clamp down on him and order his men to whiz him from that place. Because where are the other 2 commissioners who are supposed to sit with him to collate this result and allow the other 10 local government results to be turned in before announcement will be made? But this man quarrelingly announced the result. Then on the other hand, the woman whom he announced that he won, who was also giving a press conference, saying that she accepts the result. Which result are you accepting? See, my brother, Nigeria cannot afford to fail itself. We can't afford to fail Africa. The whole nation of Africa is looking up to us to play the big brother role. And like my learned friend here said, a simple election that takes couple of hours, 8:30 to 2 p.m. And INEC had 4 years to prepare. 4 good years. A child of 4 years, that child is old enough to say, Papa, Mama, welcome. Welcome, sir. And apart from the budgetary allocation that is being released by this present government, kudos to Mr. President. This, according to the budget put out there, they said 300 billion. Amadin, do you know what 300 billion is? Apart from the 300 billion, I have had cause in my early life as a young man to work with INEC and as an election observer. And we know that the only thing you hear is the budgetary allocation given to INEC by government. But some of the technical assistance that have been given by maybe European Commission, countries like Canada, UK, and what have you, you don't get to hear about it. These people come in terms of aid, technical aid, logistics aid to INEC, you know, as an empire. Then, like my Jelene friend said, INEC had 4 years to prepare for an election of few hours. How bad? If you can't give us the election of the 25th presidential and senatorial and House of Rep, you know, it came with all manners of things that up to today, nobody has apologized to Nigerians. Even INEC, who said to us there are technical glitches, INEC has not come on air to what an insult. INEC has not come on air to tell Nigerians and the whole Africans that are looking up to us to play the big brother role in Africa to say we are sorry for the technical glitches. We are not seeking for explanation now, just say we are sorry for the technical glitches, because these are taxpayers' money released to you by the federal government of Nigeria. The international community, and they are looking to us to provide leadership to the African continent. My brother, shall we continue in this platform? Even as little as conducting a small election for Adamawa and Kebbi. Thank God the one of Kebbi came, you know, and there was no issues there. But here in Adamawa, I don't know why Adamawa only there is so much confusion. And I looked at the people that are involved in this, the REC. According to you now, you just told me, I don't even know that he's a lawyer. The other two national commissioners that were assigned to assist the REC from the headquarters. And one of them was, of course, is a show of shame. That one I had, he was stripped naked, beaten by the youth. 21st century. A nation. And I believe those professors, for some of us, yes, for some of us who are not too educated, like them, I believe a professor is supposed to be a man who is above board in terms of educational prowess, moral values, sound mind, a respectable persons in the society of colleges. I don't understand what is going on in Nigeria. And such a person has a wife and a children like us, watching what that's seen on Saturday. What I term an avoidable act of show of shame that happened on Saturday in Adamawa. And that boils down to the desperation of our politicians. And then if you look at the school of thought of persons who say, I think what we need to do is to reduce the salary of our political class. Perhaps, maybe by the time we do that, it will serve as a deterrent, or maybe it will not be business as usual. People will not clamor to go into politics anymore. Because when they clamor to go into politics, there is so much juicy, allowances and packages that they go there to collect. And that is why there is always desperation in the part of politicians to do everything humanly possible to get there.
All right, Mr. Obaje, let me just come in on a statement you made about INEC still not addressing Nigerians at this point in time.
Yes.
I don't know if you can give us some legal perspective by circulation.
Yes.
Premium Times, renowned newspaper and outlet, has released an article recently wherein they calculated the figures on the IREV at the back end for Rivers State and found that Rivers State was won by the Labour Party presidential candidate, not the APC presidential candidate. That is according to their findings. And we know that the parties themselves have been alleging that they've done their calculations and saying that the numbers don't match up. Yes. So, we want to go back to that issue of the promises that were made before the elections. Because now we see INEC have started responding little by little. And basically what they're saying is, we followed the law, we did not break any rules.
Yes, sir. And
then they bring out the rules. They say, there was nothing that ever said that we must do it the way you are saying you said, and so on and so forth. So the question now is, does INEC have that legal backing when they say that they were under no obligations to, transmit the results electronically, especially now that we're seeing that a whole state can be said to have been won by another person, by the figures on their own, let's call it server, not independent servers now. The very numbers that can be found on IREF show that a person won an election, but INEC declared the opposite. So what is the legal backing here for them to say they had no obligation?
Now, what the law requires are results. Now, those results cannot be manufactured anywhere. They have to emanate from a polling unit.
Correct.
Now, it is the results that are emanated from the polling unit that counts for what is entered in ward collation sheets, local government sheets, and down to state and to the National Collation Center. Now, any alterations in those words, any alterations in those figures, from the polling unit, you have made a false entry. By law, you are culpable for forgery and other electoral offenses. Now, the essence of transmitting results online was just so we can maintain the sanctity of the result sheets that we got from the polling unit. Now, we've been able to curtail the number of persons, the multiple votings and number of persons who thumbprint the ballot paper by the beavers identifying the number of persons to be accredited and number of persons accredited. Now at the moment you no longer see those abracadabra numbers flowing in like water in elections. You see normal numbers because it is those that have been recorded by the beavers. Now don't forget, the beavers without the IREF is an incomplete process. There are two processes to this election: the beavers and the IREF. While the beavers captures and maintain the persons who vote, the IREF maintain the results that has been captured by the beavers and which has been produced by electorates who voted. Now, the law by our Electoral Act, Section 60 and Section 64, provides for INEC to provide ways to conduct the election. That provision empowered INEC to make a bylaw, which is the guideline. That guideline is not a piece of paper. It's a bylaw made, and it is recognized in law as a law. It's an administrative law made by an institution, and it forms parts of our law. It's an offshoot of the Electoral Act, and the Electoral Act itself is an offshoot of the Constitution. So you cannot take away whatever that is contained in the guideline. And by the guideline has provided that persons from the polling units, the polling officer shall, there is an introductory word, shall. The polling officer shall upload, he did not say the INEC chairman, he said the polling officer shall upload the election result sheet from the polling unit. He did not say from the world's unit. He said shall upload the result sheet from the polling unit. So he gives a compulsion. There's no room for either whether I choose to upload it or I don't choose to upload it. When a shall is used in any operational sentence of law, it imports compulsion. It means mandatoriness. You are mandated to upload this thing at the end of your exercise. You can't leave. You're not to even leave
the vacuum.
The vacuum, because creating that vacuum, you're creating a third-party exercise that will floor what you've done, and that is the essence of the beavers and the IREF. Now, these were not done. None of these were done. And that gave room for mutilation and multiplicity of numbers that we are getting. If you take that down from the 25th election to the of February election to the 18th of March election and down to the 15th of April election, supplementary election, you get to see that we have discrepancies. At the moment, we have three results. Three. We have the one from agents of political parties, which are the duplicate copies. We have the one by collation officers of INEC, which are different from the ones from the polling unit. And now we have some that are in the IREF up to this moment. The results on the IREF. And the IREF, funny enough, the IREF is a public platform where anybody can access it, including me and you. We have 176,000 polling units. Up till this moment, we don't have that number on IREF. IREF is yet to upload even up to that number. Where is the result? Now things are not adding up. The essence of the IREF, the law providing for IREF, the guideline providing for IREF, is just so we have an administrative convenience. We don't go bloating numbers. We don't have a third-party interference. But from what you can see, we now have even an insider interference. INEC became a snake that swallowed itself. Now, from the Adamawa election, we can see that INEC is now against INEC. INEC is now disputing the figures of INEC. What does it tell you? The house is divided among itself. With the amount of money that have been given to these people, and with the logistics that have been, with the time frame that has been given to them to come up with this, and even the technology. And this something people forget easily, that this is the era of technology. Young people have been so immersed into the technological world that there is nowhere to hide anything. When you feel you hide it, people will bring it out. And when you feel you can go and hide things. Now, about the officers who were there, by law, each and every member who participated, in law, offenses are committed either by omissions or commission. By omission, when you fail to do things you are responsible to do. You are a journalist here, and if I begin to spit hateful words that are against NBA code, NBC code, sorry, and you fail to caution me, by omission, you have encouraged me. So you're also as liable as I would be if by chance I am taken up. So in such circumstances, both the police officers who were there, both the INEC resident electoral commissioner who perpetuated the action, if it is found out that he was induced by anybody, he's liable. Both the person who made the acceptance speech, they have all contravened the law. And I am looking forward to each of them facing the court of law for their crimes that they've committed. Now, if you, it's waging war against a nation. By that deliberate act, you are waging war against a nation because you are subverting the institution's policies and actions. You are waging war against Nigeria because the election is not conducted. The election is conducted by Nigeria. INEC is just a tool upon which Nigeria conducts its election. So any persons who have participated knowingly and who have either by omission or commission, by doing or failing to do an action, the police officers, the DSS members who were in that room, the civil defense officers who were in that room, by now I expect they should be stripped off their guards. They should be made example of what a system should be. That is how a country is supposed to operate.
All right, I think that's fair enough. Mr. Obajo, you mentioned earlier about changing the processes that lead to INEC, the people in charge of INEC and so on and so forth. Let's talk about some of the agitations leading up to the election. There were agitations that some recs, some resident electoral commissioners were partisan.
Yeah.
And we never really saw any actions being taken. We saw people come up with their different evidence of some of the recs with membership cards. We even have now, take for instance, there was a rec who didn't end up, a prospective rep who didn't end up approved, speaking about the current head of the NDDC. Yes. Yeah. Recently, the APC just said they've suspended her. And people wonder, this person was about to be part of the electoral umpire, and now you've suspended them from your party. So that being said, what we saw with the rec, where you said you've seen the video, I'm sure you saw his demeanor, the way he said she has won the election, she has scored the highest votes.
The vote
That's the end of it.
Yes.
So that being said, what do you think is the way forward when people point out these things? How all the processes of getting them? How do we ensure that people who are deeply partisan don't end up in these positions where they sway results or attempt to do so in whatever manner that they prefer?
My brother, will I call it a systematic problem in Nigeria? And it's endemic in our culture that, look at the issue of the Naira redesign. Take that as a component of what is going on in the society. So me and you, the Naira redesign, as of that time, not until the Supreme Court came up with the judgment, by saying that the old Naira note should run concurrently with the new Naira note till December, when there will be liquidity in the system. For you and I to get the new Naira note is a tall order. But people who have their way, we are buying the new Naira note with money in this country. People are buying new Naira note with money. And they are having their way. You see some people spending, you'll be asking them, where do they get this theirs from? Is theirs from another country called Nigeria? And we are in another country called Nigeria. So I don't know how we are going to go about it in this country, but for me, I was here in this studio some times ago and I said, as constituted now, the National Assembly, who are supposed to be the guard, the watchdog of the society, who are supposed to make good laws for the well-being, welfare of the Nigerian people, who are supposed to make laws to strengthen our institution. This last National Assembly, that is outgoing National Assembly, as they are rightly tagged, what they call them? Stamp duty or whatever they call them.
Rubber stamp.
Rubber stamp. Thank you. That is the right word. They call them rubber stamp. They are supposed to be there not only, oversight, agencies of government, but they are supposed to put the government of the day in check. Now, you talk about the woman that was appointed as one of the INEC commissioner. When there were so much protests on National Assembly, complaints were made against her, the government of the day took her from there and they made her NDDC chairperson, board of NDDC. I sit down in my closet and I put my hands and I say, wow, what a country. I suggested last time I was here and I said, how I wish we could have a body separate from National Assembly. This body will be like, maybe in form of a commission, set up in such a way that all the states of the federations will nominate each and every candidate from the state, from each states, to represent them in that commission. And the job of the commission is to ensure that anybody who is vying for political office in Nigeria, of course, there are still Nigerians of integrity. I can tell you without missing words that if you like doing it and put gun on their head to do the obvious, they will never do it. Such persons, we can find them in all the states of the federation. Get them together and say, look, it is time, we need to sit down and build a nation where every one of us and our children yet unborn will be proud of. And make them to take an oath of allegiance that every political party, candidate, whether you are a chairman of a state, whether you are governing for gubernatorial elections, or whether you will become a minister or appointed as a chairperson of a board, you must pass through that commission, and every criteria that is put out there, from your resume to your character, competence and capacity, will be examined. if we can have such a body, just like we have the FCC, screening and looking at all financial transactions in Nigeria. If you can have such a body, looking at all appointees, all political, gladiators, and say, look, if you want, I tell you, a lot of people will not go near there. Because a criminal today, a criminal jailed in this country, can cover up his tracks 3 years later down the line. Before you know it, he's a governor of a state. So what do you say to it? By the time you go to find out, now it is too late. Immunity covers him. How do you get him out of that place? You heard what happened in the US, and there was a video call, and it was played, and they said the former president was telling somebody, governor, one of the returning officers, the governors of a state, please, can you get me votes there? I'm looking for social numbers of vote. I'm looking for social. You don't dare do it. Because in this place, like he said, there's no consequences for actions. INEC is not above the law. There is a law setting up INEC. And if the chairman or the national commissioners or even the resident commissioners of any state errs against the law, we have more than institutions in Nigeria. What is UFC? What's it called?
ICPC.
No, not ICPC. DSS. What is DSS doing there? They are supposed to pick such a person and send them for investigation immediately. And that is why when somebody is going for appointment and they submit their names to the National Assembly for confirmation, all that the executive need to do, you have to pass through the office of SSS for clearance and what have you. If they don't give their clearance, your names cannot be forwarded. So I expect that DSS, this is their lines of jurisdiction. They need to go in there, investigate, prosecute. But in Nigeria here, an individual appointed to an organization is above the law. In fact, I said here sometimes ago, I said it's only in Nigeria where I see a head of an agency of government. Once that man closed from office in the maybe before the closing hour, and he goes home with all the authorities of that office. He goes home with the files of that office. Nobody again function until he returns the next day. It's not done this way in other climes. If you are not there, the just continues. That is where there are strong institutions. But in Nigeria here, instead of building strong institutions, we are building men. It's only in Nigeria and in Africa where a governor will use state apparatus, state money, state resources given to him by federal government. I got to know. You will use it and then you gather people. Hey, our governor has come. He has given us rope. You are clapping hand and the man is dancing, shaking his head. Shaking his head. He said, yes, I have done well for my people. Like one governor, that one is always on TV, he used to sing. Always singing and dancing before the people. As if it's his own father's money. His inheritance that he got from his father, called federal government, that is now using to build flyover, build everything. And when they talk, they say, how many governors are working? So that is a society we are. A society where we celebrate only people that are in position of authority. A society where we celebrate only money, positions of authority. That is a society we have built. So whatever comes out of that society, we should do. Now, look at the crimes. You talk about this election of Adamawa and what have you. You see, the elections and the politicians have made us not to think as human beings anymore in Nigeria. We are not human anymore. The killing of Kaduna is my concern. I wept when I saw that killing. And I saw the news that, oh, these people, they just relaxed because of elections. Oh, that also gave me a reason to have an kind of observing what is going on, and I have a kind of reflection in my spirit, and I said, what is going on in this society? Maybe some of these bandits that said, man, they have political affiliations. So during the political tension, they said everybody should lower their guards. Now they are on their springs again. Kaduna is boiling. Benue State, you heard the killing in Benue State, 40-something, 46. Hacked down, human beings, Nigerians like us. Their life can never be redeemed again. Never. Never. No matter what their family members do, they cannot redeem those life again. It's only in Nigeria here that 10 souls, 1 soul, 5 souls will die. We will just pass by it as if nothing happened. So my brother, we need an institutional change. We need change as even so that our person, as in our character, as in our content. We blame the leaders, even us, the follow ourselves, we have major role to play. We should also blame ourselves because we are all culprits in all this that is going on. If a society need to grow and need to have a sound footing and need to be respected, we are saying the international community should respect us. The African nations, they should respect us. You have not respected yourself, even your people. How do somebody respect you? How will you be regarded? Growing up as a young man in Lagos State, we were meant to come to Tafa Balewa Square, just like you have Eagle Square here. That all Nigerians should come out in mass and support the cause of apartheid struggle in South Africa. My brother, go to South Africa today. Is it not a safe haven now for Nigerians? Any Nigerian you see at the airport, if they are not going to Dubai, they are going to South Africa or they are going to UK. UK is not even fashionable anymore. America is not fashionable. It's South Africa and Dubai. That's what they are running to. And then you come back here. One of the presidential candidates told us that when you enter Dubai, what are you going to do about security? He was telling us about Dubai. Yes, you get to Dubai, right from the airport of Dubai, nobody monitors you. You will not see the police following you. But the security system there will capture you immediately. And there are cameras everywhere. Anywhere you go, from the day you enter and the day you exit, you are being monitored. Nobody, except when you come in, then you see police physically appear before you. I said to myself, you see, they go there, they see all these things, they come back home here. Nigeria, let them do everything they want to do. Let them die, we don't care whether there be security or not. Whatever happens, we'll fly out with our private jet and go and live in our house, in our mansions, and they leave the rest of us here. And now my problem is, the same people who told us this, the same Nigerians are following them, clapping hands for them, calling them up. Hey, Sariki, oh, Your Excellency. One of the presidential candidates said, don't call me Your Excellency. Some of us have failed you. And that is why the message of that man resonates with all Nigerians, particularly the youth. We failed you. If somebody said he's an excellency, what have you done to merit that excellency? If you say you are honorable member, what have you done to show to Nigerians that you are honorable? If I have my way, of course, unfortunately, I don't have it. I will remove excellency and honorable from all these political appointees. I'm telling you the truth. Because for you to become honorable person, do you know what an honorable person is? You must be somebody of sincere grounds of what? Merit, accountability, honest, transparent, of high moral standing. There is a moral obligations of Nigerians, and particularly our elders. Suddenly, if it's not only Olusegun Obasanjo, whether he's speaking rightly or speaking wrongly, I'm not in position to question him. But over time, it's only him that I've heard as an elder statesman that is voicing out what is going on in the society and how things should be done properly. If not him, the rest, nobody is talking. No, as if we don't have elder in this country anymore. I believe we have elder like Obasanjo. We have people like Danjuma. We have them all across the nations. But nobody is talking. Nobody. Then again, who owns government of the day to account? It is the people. But when the people themselves are capable, they are collaborators with government. How do you now question governments? See, both INEC, both the federal government, both Nigerians, even including me as a citizen, we have a moral obligations to re-examine ourselves.
Right.
How we treat ourselves, how we treat others. We need to sit back. It's just like he said, INEC promised so much going into these elections. You told us that your guidelines that you are going to use the beavers, and after collation, what they call it, accreditations of voters, voting will be done, and then the beavers will be used to identify whether you are the person who is bearing Daniel or Mr. Famous that is in that particular polling unit to vote. And after the vote has been casted.
Sorry, Mr. Let's just. Please repeat that. Good afternoon.
Yeah, please, I want to join
All right, please, what did you say your name is? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Honorable Michael, you know, we are from Water.
Okay, Honorable Michael, please go ahead.
Yeah, what my brother is just saying now, I really just want to appreciate what he's saying. See, thank God for a station like your station.
Thank you.
Because I don't in Adamawa. If other stations are talking about what transfer in Adamawa, shows that there is no democracy in Nigeria.
Sam?
So we really need mercy in our electoral system in Nigeria. This is the supplementary election supposed not to be.
All right, so sorry we lost that call. Mr. Michael, please make sure to call back if you can. Sorry about that.
Sorry, let me just land on my thought.
All right.
Like I was saying, then they said they will now, after the voting is done and counting is done, that they will now transfer to the IRF to their distant portal, which everybody in Nigeria can view. All right. Then you went back again and we were promised. It's just like a father telling his children and the wife, I'm going for hunting or I'm going to the marketplace. Then your children are saying, Baba, if you are coming, buy us bread, buy us this. And you tell them that, look, the reason why I cannot buy bread today, this is the budget for the house. Mama must cook gari and then cook ogbono soup for you people to eat and to drink, and then at the end of the day you return back home and you tell the children that, oh, there is in fact you didn't even explain at all. You said the reason for not be able to meet up all the demands for this soup to be made and then for the food to be eaten, you didn't even tell them. But whether you have financial glitches or not, that's the way I will put it in my own language now, borrowing from my neck language, you didn't explain to anybody. But you are the one that told us in the first instance that you are going to go to the market, and they're going to the market. These are the things you need to buy, the items that you enumerated. Then you are the one again coming back to tell us that these things are not compulsory. I don't understand. Okay, if they are not compulsory and you don't owe any explanations, and because you are independent electoral empire, meaning you have all the powers to do whatever you want to do, no problem, you have done what you want to do. But I want to say this. The issues of moral burdens, no nation survive it that condone such act. You and I might not have powers to question INEC or the government of the day, but I assure you, this government, if they don't address what has happened in these elections and apologize to Nigeria, moral burden is on this government, this current government. The moral burden will be on INEC and as institution, and whoever announced that result, the moral burden is on him to his fourth generation. Then the moral burden on Nigeria, even if Tinubu is swearing on the 29th of May, the moral burden will be on Tinubu and the entire government of Tinubu, to even Nigerians who supported what happened. The moral burden is on them. Moral burdens is like the soul of a man, that whenever you go, your soul goes with you. Anywhere you go, you know in your subconsciousness that something happened that you have not addressed. And until you address that, you can't have peace.
All right.
So we need INEC to upload this burden on their neck and apologize to Nigerians.
All right.
We have been giving so much, but we do not perform to the expectations of Nigeria. We are sorry. Then let the nation move on from there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Abaja, for that. Let's hear from Amina Sekelechi. He has spoken about the moral aspect, and I believe what the caller was heading towards was also an issue of morality and doing what's right. Let's talk now about things that are supposed to supersede these things or to make it not necessary, wherein you don't depend on the morality of an INEC chairman. He just has to do it because it is the law. What do you feel is the way forward so that the Electoral Act that has excited people for so long, can actually have its effect, wherein the next election cycle we have very limited levels of errors and chances of being maneuvered because of how well the law is. And how well do you think the law has been interpreted so far? Have people misunderstood what was said? Are there ways that there could be more education so that people are aware of what obtains before they head out to the ballot, so that they know that, oh, it's not about promises that INEC makes, it's about the law, and if INEC doesn't follow this, we'll make some noise, so to speak.
No, there are more than enough laws that are in this country. The problem is not the laws. In fact, like for me, we have beautiful laws.
Yes, of course.
Beautiful laws, but they are in the pages of papers, and then the implementation becomes the problem.
Correct.
We have issues as Nigerians, as people who are lawless. We have institutions that nobody cares about the institutions and its framework. Now, we have allegiance to who is sitting on a seat and not to the institution.
That is all.
Now, if a police officer cannot, if I am a police officer and I am attached to you, and you commit a crime, I have an institutional duty to arrest you.
Correct.
And send you, because even while you come and go, I remain. My allegiance is to the nation. My allegiance is to the institution which I have been inducted into.
Correct.
I do not owe any allegiance to you. I do not owe you any favor, even if you're my brother. Now, appointing partisan persons into political positions is not the problem. It is not a problem at all. Now, there is nobody that has no political affiliation. Nobody that has no political affiliation. But the point is, placing the institutions first before your personal benefits or before your personal understanding of whatever year it is. The moment, even if you appoint the president that you are electing, he's partisan and he's going to be the overall. And he's not the president of his party. But the point is, he has that obligation. It's not a moral obligation. It has nothing to do with morality. It has much to do with law. The law, whether you feel it is right or it is wrong, the law already says this is what you're going to do. Respect my institutions and take yourself out when you're done. My institutional frameworks are already laid out. You must, as a matter of fact, whether you like it or not. It is not a matter of, I don't like it. You don't like it, has no basis with anybody. Or I like it. The thing is, what does the law say? The law requires that as an institution, this is how you act. Every institution of Nigeria has an operational law. It has the laws that usher them in. It has its standard operational guidelines. Now, that same way, but the problem is nobody is following those guidelines, and there is no consequences for those who deviate from following those guidelines. We need to fall back to apportioning consequences to actions. Even if you're a partisan person, the moment you step into this shoe, you begin to act for this shoe, not for your partisan interest. You must shave off your partisan interest and act in accordance with what is expected and what is stipulated.
But at the very least, you can't be openly partisan, can you?
No, you can't.
You can't.
It's
But
not
does that remove the very fact that you were once at any point of your life partisan? But the point is, at that point, you need to focus. There is already, the moment you accept a responsibility, your entire being, your entire life is focused on that responsibility. Above every other thing, your personal or partisan interest, it is above it. So you must shove down that of your partisan interest and your personal interest, put it down and focus on the institution. Now, if we are able to, I strongly advocate that, but this present electoral act is beautiful, it has beautiful provisions. All we need is the implementation. He created both offenses and the punishments according to them. It is both a civil document and also a criminal, something like a criminal code. It provides a guide and provides punishment for it. It's as beautiful. In fact, you can't see any other law that is as beautiful as that.
Right, just to round off now, we're almost out of time. in your opinion, what do you think should happen as regards the Adamawa issue to bring a level of sanity and a level of confidence? I'm speaking about not just I'm talking about the press release which said that they've all been invited
to Abuja.
Yes.
First, they should be relieved of their duty immediately. All of them, all that participated in it,
resident,
all of them, including the INEC, the police,
even the police,
everyone,
all the security agencies that were there, they should be relieved of their duty
immediately.
All right, just a moment before you continue with your recommendations. Let's hear from this caller. Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Honorable Michael.
All right, thanks for calling back. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I was before the network went off. So what I'm saying concerning the Adamawa, I really want to appreciate Kaftan Television for this kind of opportunity for Nigerians to see what everybody is saying, because this is a pure robbery on the Adamawa people. It's not that our democracy has gone beyond what somebody can just come and take law into his hand, and I believe the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, should speedily do something as fast as possible to restore peace and do democracy in Adamawa. This is robbery. The election is not done like this in African countries. And we are like an example to other African countries. So you people should please, I don't think INEC chairman is watching this program, but Kaftan TV is a very good television station somebody can really watch to learn from what is happening in Nigeria. Please, the democracy has to be restored in a normal process in Nigeria. Please, I just want you people to please discuss this very much so that INEC and every Nigerian can be able to be educated about what happened in Adamawa. This is unfair. Adamawa people, I don't think they are happy concerning what happened in this last supplementary election. Please, INEC chairman to take this Kaftan Television program as an opportunity for democracy to be restored back in Adamawa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we're still trying to get the commissioner, Festus Okoye, back in the studio. He was a regular guest of ours before the election.
I would love to be
here.
I would love to be here.
It's not so easy to get him these days, but hopefully
I would have loved to interrogate him.
Yes, hopefully sometimes
and say some things to him face to face.
All right, please round up with your
like I was saying,
yeah.
all those who participated in the Adamawa's anomaly should be removed from their duty post henceforth. They should step aside, all of them. They should be either suspended while
bear in mind that there's still no official announcement yet. So
they should be suspended immediately, all of them. If they are not, the institution is not going to suspend them. The president has the power to suspend every one of them. Now, away from that, there should be a commission of inquiries, an independent commission of inquiries, not the INEC. It has nothing to do with INEC. Maybe judges and journalists and other professionals should be called into it. Now, also, those who participated in either way or another in the acts that veered off our elections this year must all be prosecuted, all of them. And not only justice need not only be done, but manifestly seen as done. We need to see it happen. We don't need to tell us you've done it. We need to see it happen. Now, with that, we will be returning sanity to our institutions. We will be making an example and telling the next person who is going to accept the responsibility. Look at what your colleague suffered. Are you willing to suffer that if you derail? If he is willing and he is comfortable that he will not falter, then he should come and assume. The seat should become so hot that whoever sits on it either get burnt or you get comfortable.
All right. Thank you so much, Vice Kelechi. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel Obaje. We've run out of time now, but it was a pleasure to have you on the show and to get your thoughts. Thanks so much.
Before you close us, what he just said now, I want to join my voice to him.
If you can do
that
it in
the
30
police
seconds,
commissioner, the IG of police should call the police commissioner right now and have him demoted, and all the other security apparatus. Then INEC should move in and conclude the election immediately, so that the people of Adamawa they can't be vacuum.
Thank you so much for that. That's all we take on the program. Do join us tomorrow across the weekdays, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. daily for more discussions on politics, governance, the state of the nation, and the intersection of all of this. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow. I am Amadine Ugbewe.